Hey everybody, it's Christopher K. Smith. It's my FibLines quarterly update for September 27th, 2017. So here's a standard disclaimer regarding trading products. Don't trade with money you can't afford to lose. Be careful. So first of all, what is FibLines? FibLines is a technical study that can get applied to stock and financial market charts to help identify areas of potential support and resistance. So to see what it looks like, let's bring up a chart of Take-Two Interactive TTWO. I'm going to grab the little Fibonacci retracements tool. Look at the little percent sign down here. I'm going to draw some lines from some potential areas of support and resistance, say up here to right down there. And you can see, just like magic, that we have support resistance right here at the 161 line. It came back down, and we had a note more resistance here at the 261 line. So to see what that looks like with the indicator, we're going to add FibLines. And once we do that, you can see that, like I said, just like magic, we had resistance at the 161 line, came back up off this orange line, came back down, found support at the 161 line, came up to the 261 line, gapped right to the bottom, and then it's moving back and forth between these two orange lines. So that's the way the indicator works. It's based on Fibonacci retracements, and it's part technical study and part human interpretation. The human part is you have to select the top and the bottom of your Elliott wave 1 here, and then the indicator draws the rest of these lines, and it draws a red line at 161% of that initial move, 261%, and then 423% of that initial move. And once it does that, you can see how well the indicator does in terms of identifying potential areas of support and resistance. So that's the way the indicator works, and there's lots of cool things about it. I've seen it work in many cases. So let's look at a couple charts. And for now, let's first take a look at the stock market in general since my last quarterly update. I like to use W5000 and Wilshire 5000 total market cap index. We can see based on the low here back on November 7th, 2017, the day of the election. For my last quarterly update, we're up about 15%. We've tacked on another 3% since then, up about 18% then since the election. So that's a huge move. It's been a huge period of wealth building. I hope you've been taking advantage of that. I attribute a lot of this to the pro-growth policies and attitudes of President Donald Trump. You may not agree with his policies or the way he conducts business or anything else about him, but he certainly has been good for the stock market and good for the economy, and I hope you've been participating in that. I certainly have. So let's take a look at a few charts then. Since my last update, I updated Boeing, and you see here we had just a complete rocket to the upside based on the backlog of orders they had. We most recently bounced off of this orange line here, and one cool thing about FibLines you'll notice is you can go to different time frames, say an hourly chart or any other time frame, and you'll see that it obeys the lines even in smaller time frames. The lines don't move around. They stay in the same position regardless of the time frame of the chart, which is completely different than you get with, say, moving averages, where you get a different interpretation in every time frame. So Boeing's been an incredible move. The last update I mentioned Visa and MasterCard. I don't know if I updated either one of those in this update, but you can see that Visa has run all the way up to the 423% line. It's taken a little bit of a pause. Similar situation with MasterCard, although I believe I reinterpreted MasterCard, so we now have an upside target there of $155 a share, so more room to go on the upside in MasterCard. I like both of those. Very well established financial companies. Another one that I like that I talked about in the last update was PayPal, PYPL. I believe in the last quarterly update I pointed out the fact that the stock came up and broke away from the 261 line here at $51 and pulled back and had a very neat 3-bar reversal off the 261 line. I took that as an opportunity to add more shares, and since then it's done very well and moved up to my target, which is about in the 60. We'll still have a target upside target about $63 a share. So still some potential upside in PayPal. Earnings coming up soon. I don't have a date for that right now. Another finance company, web-based finance company that's an earlier stage is Square, SQ. I first added this in my last quarterly update, and the stock was at the 423% line, I believe at about $24 a share. In this update, basically I replaced the 161 line with the 100, so I made a higher initial move. And the cool thing is when you do that, the previous levels will tend to hold. So what was the 423% line before has now become the 261 line, and we have an upward target in Square at $34.50. I do not have any position in Square at this point. However, it is earlier stage. Web Financial, if we take a look at Telechart and we go to the Finance tab, Fundamentals tab, we can see that Square is not making any money. They're still in the cash losing stage. So keep that in mind. I only like to buy stocks once they're actually making money and they're in the green. Okay, another one I talked about last time is ADP, Automatic Data Processing. This is what the chart looked like as of my last quarterly update. We see the stock was bounced up against this 423% line right here at about $105 a share. And then the hedge fund activist Bill Ackman came along and announced an interest in the stock. Just shot up here to an all-time high in the low 120s, and then came back and successfully tested this 423% line and is now kind of brewing and moving above that. So I took this as an opportunity to reinterpret ADP, and what I did was similar to the other charts. I made the 161 line the 100. So the new 100 is here, and the 100 ends right here under this gap. So if you look at ADP, it now looks like this. The 0% line is right down here, and the 100 ends right at the bottom side of that gap right there, right at the bottom of that bar. That's a funny thing about these FibLines is they can end at tops, or they can end at the bottom or top of gaps. So once you do that, you find an interpretation that works. We can see in this case the old 423% line right here at $105 a share is now the 261 line, and we have a new upside target of $132.06. This is the kind of analysis you can do with FibLines that you can't do with other indicators. You can project future support and resistance lines, and along those lines, notice how when the stock shot up here, it stopped just short of that yellow line there. I think, you see, the high of that move was $121 a share, $121.77, and that yellow line was at $122.23. So it's amazing the way these lines work. And like I said before, you can go to lower time frames, and the lines don't move; they stay where they are. And you can see how well this the old 423 line, now the 261 line, is being supported on the hourly chart. So that's ADP. New upside target is $132 a share, $132.07, I believe it is. Yeah, $132.06. That's your new upside target for ADP. And that's okay. Next up is Amazon, web retail. Now, Amazon's come in quite a bit. This is my last update. I still like it to the upside. And we can see that we had an all-time high here at almost $1,082 a share. It's had more than a 10% pullback. Now down here in the 932 area. You could pick some up here at $900 a share. It's costly as a stock trade. What you can do that I did earlier in the year is you can buy a call spread. So you want to go out in time, say to November, and pick up, say, the 900, 1,000 call spread is what I did last time. So I bought a 900 call. I sold a 1,000 call. And you can do that for a debit of $46.83, about $4,600. So for a potential profit of $5,600. So if the stock makes the move, you can get over 100% gain there, and it's much less costly than buying the shares. I mean, 100 shares of Amazon stock would cost you, $98,000. So you can do it. You can get some of the same bang for the buck, maybe not all of it, but for much less money by buying a call spread. So I like that in Amazon. I think it's at support here. We have a more significant area of support down here at $894. Next up is Facebook. Now, you know I like Facebook. I've been talking about it the whole time. I did reinterpret Facebook in this update. The old 423% line was right here at about 165. I believe I did the same thing here that I did for ADP. The 161 became the 100, and now we see our 261 line right here at $165 a share. New target now $198 for Facebook. Be careful though; it's had quite a run, and earnings are coming up. I don't know exactly when. But in the next few months, I believe it's in late October. So I did take 1/4 of my Facebook off to offset some other losses. So be careful. I think the risks are growing in this market overall, but I still like Facebook to the upside, and I'm still substantially long. What else? Along with, this is unrelated, but along with the Wilshire 5000, which we looked at already, the dollar's been an interesting move. The dollar DXY, after the election, it basically rallied up about 10% from about 93 to about just under $100. It's since made a big down move from 103 all the way down to 93, about a 10% downside in the dollar. So it's a mixed bag. It's actually good for U.S. exports. Our exports are cheaper, but it costs more for people to come visit the U.S. So it's interesting to see the dollar going down. Everybody talks a strong dollar, but in reality, people like when their currencies get weaker because their exports become more competitive. Okay, my last chart for you today is VIAD, VVI. This is excuse me, VVI, that's not right. VVI, not VII, VVI. VIAD. So this is a business services company, and it showed up in Telechart on my new, let's find it, AnyScans, my scans, new high, low PE, positive growth scan. And we can see from this list here that stock made an all-time high. 5-year earnings growth rate of 63%, which is the tops on my scan here. P ratio of 18. Dividend yield just under 1. So what that means is Kramer says you can pay up to 2 times the growth rate. Well, here the growth rate is 63, which would make a PE of 120 reasonable. But here we have growth rate of 63 and a P only 18. So it's a relatively inexpensive for its growth rate, and we do have positive earnings growth, and we do have a new all-time high, and that's what I like to see in stocks. And so I picked up a little bit of that, and I'm doing fairly well so far. So VII, VIAD is a new ad for me with a target at $73.67. So that's my quarterly update. Be careful out there. This is the time of year when risks, when usually we get a nice sell-off in the stock market. Let's take a look at SPY. And let's take off the FibLines for a second, just for laughs. And let's look at the seasonality chart, see what that tells us. Style, seasonality. Okay, so this is the SPY. This is the actual data, and this is the seasonal data. If you average many years worth of data into a single chart, and you can see that we have a low. We're expecting a sell-off here that usually bottoms sometime in October, and we've had a lot of moves. Some of these technology stocks, so the moves can be scary to the downside. But just keep in mind that whatever sell-off you see in October is almost always thrown back by the end of November to end higher for the year. So keep cool. Don't panic if you see some of your stocks having big sell-offs, because history shows that in most cases they will come back stronger and higher by the end of the year. Finally, if you're interested in the FibLines, you can pick them up at fibtools.sells.com. There's a free version of the indicator that has the indicator for QQQ, SPY, DIA, and the cash settled futures, NQ, TF, and YM. And we have the full version of the FibLines indicator that includes support for over 200 charts. And for $99, you get 4 quarterly updates, and this is one of my quarterly updates. So the updated indicator gets sent out to all subscribers along with the video. And again, you can pick up that FibLines full indicator for Thinkorswim at fibtools.sells.com for $99. Credit cards are accepted. Thanks very much. Thanks for watching. Have a great day and good trading.